All right, another fun day coming up with our Hellcat Durango. Yesterday we dyno tested the JLT intake. We saw a high of 649, but an average of about 636. Well, we're gonna do some Metco pulleys today. Okay, this right here is why you have to baseline the day you're doing a test. You can't do it even 2 different days in a row. Today's a little bit cooler, but it made 644 and 641. Yesterday we made 649 and backed it up with a 636. So what do you compare against when we put the pulley on today? You've got to do a baseline that same day. So this also tells us that the guard definitely wants to make in the 640s. So the power from the intake's there. What we want to see now is what happens after we let it cool down. We swap that pulley. Can we make 675? Can we make 700? We'll see what happens. All right, this is going to be our last pull. 3.1 pulley, JLT intake, no other changes. We let it cool down for about 50 minutes. We're going to bring it up to 190 degrees and hammer it for what we call a glory pull. Let's see what she makes. That last run was also with our race filter, which is no media, so we were going for broke. 693.9, so close to 700. All right, let's go over what we found out today. Today was just for getting some information for guys at Metco. We want to tell them exactly what happens when we throw these pulleys on these things. We also want to see what kind of power we can make. We always want to make as much power as possible. So baseline of the day, which was just the JLT intake, is 644. Like we said, you really, if you're gonna test parts, you got to baseline your car that day. You can't test yesterday. You can't test a week before, put a part on, go back to the dyno a different day and expect an apples to apples comparison. That's just good information for everybody to have. You have to do that. So 644, we went ahead and put the 3.2 pulley on, no tuning. Obviously that takes a little time. We let it cool off, maybe an hour, hour and a half, and we bumped up horsepower to 667. So we picked up 23 horsepower, a little over 23 horsepower, but if you look up above 5,000 all throughout this range, we're picking up 23 to 25 horsepower all up in here. So a lot more than that for just a pulley swap. We took off the 3.2 and we put on a 3.1 and we picked up some more, 683. So 683 horsepower, and we monitored air fuel, and you can see here This does this in stock configuration. This is just the factory tune, and it dumps fuel, whether it's cat over temp or whether it's just adapting to the new air. This is where a tune would clean this all up, and a tune would make so much more horsepower. We're advocates for tuners, but we wanted to see what would this do without a tune. So as you can see, very safe in the air fuel range, but get a tune and it's going to just make more power. This you can just put on and go and pick up 25 to 35 horsepower. Now, last thing we wanted to do was we wanted to see what would a glory run do. Let's let it cool down. Let's make the run right at 190 degrees coolant temp, and boom, almost 700 horsepower, 693.94 horsepower just by adding a pulley. That also had our race filter. So that's a race filter with no media, and that's for the track only, but we wanted to see what could we do. Could we hit 700? I think with some octane booster we probably could hit 700, but this was just for fun. Another thing we did just for data to show you guys is monitored boost. Blue line is the factory pulley, red line is the 3.2 pulley, and the orange line is the 3.1 pulley. Very jagged because it's getting a lot of different data points, but basically the 3.2 pulley picked up 1.25 pounds of boost throughout the run, and the 3.1 pulley picked up another 0.5 pound. So overall, at the end of the day, we put another 1 3/4 pounds of boost into it, and it's very safe and makes a ton of horsepower. We also just went on the street and ran a 3.50 to 60 all-wheel drive. This Durango Hellcat is awesome.